Before diving into microservices and their benefits, it is probably worth it to understand first what a monolith is, its benefits, and the issues it can present. To understand what we mean by a monolith, let's look at one way we could design our play economy system. We start with our desktop and mobile clients. Like we said, they need some sort of backend piece to enable the game experience. Therefore, we introduce a server component, likely hosted as a web server somewhere in the internet. As we go through the requirements, we identify a model that needs to take care of the in-game catalog of items. So we introduce a catalog model. Right away, we also perceive the need for a place to store these catalog items, which means it is time to introduce a database, along with a table to store these items. We also identify the need to store the information about our players, and in general, any user of the system. So we bring in a users model, which we place in the same web server next to the catalog model. Also, since we already have a database configured for a web server, we decide to add tables for the users model in that same database. Next, we identify the need to store the set of items that the player has purchased. So we bring in an inventory model. And same as before, we place it next to our other models and add relevant tables to the same database. We also need some place to perform the actual purchase process, and since this involves both debiting yield from the player and granting items to him, we also know we will need to use some sort of transaction for this. So we introduce a trading model on the same server, and we will later take advantage of the transactional capabilities of the database. Finally, we will need some way to secure the access to our web server, so that only players registered in the system can make use of it. So we bring in an authentication and authorization model, which we will abbreviate as AuthC. As with everything else, we will place it on the same server and make it use the same database. This system that we have just described is what we call a monolith, and more specifically, a modular monolith. In this system, all of our server-side capabilities are hosted together in the same web server, and they all use the same database. Likely, we also have the source code for all the modules in a single repository. We build all the code base with a single build process, and we deploy everything together. Let's now look at the pros and cons of a monolith.